The sky burned red as the small escape pod tore through the planet's atmosphere. Inside, alarms beeped loudly. Sparks flew from broken wires. The air was hot, and the whole pod shook like it was about to fall apart. Captain Mira Gray's eyes were closed. Her head rested against the seat, a small line of blood running down her forehead. The crash had knocked her out. Slowly, she opened her eyes. The lights inside the pod were dim and flickering. She coughed. Her throat was dry. Everything hurt. What happened? She whispered to herself. The last thing she remembered was the space battle. Her ship had been hit. She had no choice but to jump into the escape pod and launch into space. Now she was on some strange planet alone. Mira pulled herself up, her hands shaking. She looked outside the cracked window. The land was flat and dry, filled with red sand, black rocks, and strange tall spires like twisted towers. There were no signs of cities, ships, or people. The sky had two suns and a deep orange glow. She grabbed a small survival pack and pushed. The pod door opened. Hot air hit her face. It smelled like dust and metal. Her boots sank slightly into the sand as she stepped out. The escape pod was half buried in a dune. Smoke rose from the engine. It was useless now. She looked around, trying to stay calm. Okay, Mira, don't panic. First, check supplies. Then look for water, shelter, and maybe help. But as she turned to inspect the pod, she noticed something that made her freeze. Footprints, not hers. Someone or something had been here. The prints were large and deep, with 3 long toes and claw marks. They went around the pod and disappeared into the nearby rock formations. Her heart raced. Was it watching her now? She pulled out her blaster, set it to stun, and followed the tracks carefully. Each step echoed in the silence. The only sounds were her own breath and the soft wind. The tracks led to a cluster of black stone spires. The shadows were long and dark between them. As she walked between the stones, she saw signs of life, scratches on the rocks, broken bones, and something green and slimy stuck to the wall. She swallowed hard. I hope this isn't a mistake. Suddenly, she heard a sound. A low growl. It came from behind one of the tall rocks. She raised her blaster, her hand trembling. Who's there? Silence. Then, slowly, a figure stepped into view. It was tall, almost 7 feet. Its skin was dark blue, rough like stone, with glowing lines running down its arms and chest. Its eyes were bright silver, and it had no mouth, just slits where a nose should be. The alien stared at her. Mira didn't move. Neither did the alien. They stood there, face to face, both unsure of what to do. The alien tilted its head, curious. Mira lowered her blaster slightly. I don't want to fight. The alien blinked slowly. It stepped forward, just 1 step. Mira. TENSED. Then the alien did something unexpected. It placed its hand on its chest and gave a small nod. A greeting? Mira hesitated, then copied the motion. She touched her chest and nodded too. The alien seemed to understand. It pointed toward the sky, then down to the sand, then made a motion like an explosion. It was trying to say, crash. Mira nodded slowly. Yes, I crashed. The alien looked around, then pointed to the rocks. It turned and started walking, but after a few steps, it stopped and looked back at her, waiting. Did it want her to follow? She looked behind her, back at the broken escape pod in the distance. Smoke still rose from it. There was nothing useful there now. No rescue was coming soon. She had to survive. And maybe this alien who didn't try to hurt her was the key. She took a deep breath and followed it. As the sun began to set, the alien led her into the deeper canyons. Shadows grew longer. Strange calls echoed from far away. The alien moved quickly, but carefully, always checking the path ahead. Finally, they reached a cave hidden between 2 giant rocks. The alien went inside first. Mira paused outside, unsure. Then she heard a strange soft humming sound. Not dangerous, almost peaceful. She stepped in. The cave was warm and dry. Small glowing crystals lit the walls. There was a small pool of water in the back and soft moss on the ground. It felt like safety. The alien sat on a flat rock and watched her. Silent. Mira slowly sat down too. She looked into the alien's silver eyes and whispered, "What are you?" It didn't answer, but somehow she felt like they were both thinking the same thing. Not enemies, just two survivors, stranded on a lonely planet. The night was not quiet. Captain Mira woke with a jolt. A sharp, high-pitched screech echoed from outside the cave. It was followed by a deep rumble like thunder, but it wasn't thunder. Mira sat up fast, heart pounding. The alien, who had been sitting silently by the glowing pool, was now standing. Its head turned toward the sound. The glowing lines on its arms began to pulse brighter, faster. It knew that sound. What was that? Mira whispered, gripping her blaster. The alien didn't answer. Instead, it made a quick motion stay. Then it moved toward the mouth of the cave, fast and quiet like a shadow. Mira followed, staying low. Outside, the sky had changed. Thick green clouds gathered above the rocky spires. Strange lightning, purple and wide like cracking branches, flashed across the sky. Suddenly, a loud burst shook the ground. Far across the desert, Mira saw something terrifying. A creature with 6 legs and huge wings flew in circles above the rocks. Its eyes glowed red. Its scream shook the air. And below it, in the dust, 3 smaller creatures crawled. Hunters. Mira guessed. The alien beside her didn't flinch. It watched the creatures carefully, then looked at Mira. She could see it in his eyes. They had to move. Now. The alien made a quick series of hand signs. Mira didn't understand the language, but she understood the message. Danger is near. We must leave. She nodded. They grabbed the survival pack and began moving through a narrow crack in the rocks behind the cave. The path was tight, sharp, and steep. Mira's foot slipped, and she nearly fell, but the alien caught her arm and pulled her up with ease. His grip was strong, warm. She looked at him. "Thanks," he gave a low hum in response, not words, but comfort. As they moved through the canyon, Mira saw more signs of life. Strange plants with sharp teeth-like petals. Holes in the rocks that looked like nests. Bones, many bones. She whispered, "What is this place?" No answer. Only the sound of the storm building above them. After some time, they reached a high ridge that looked over the desert. The wind was strong here. Mira had to crouch low. That's when she saw something that made her eyes go wide. In the distance, across the flat sand, was a crashed alien ship. Not hers. It was large, half buried, covered in vines and black ash. Lights still blinked on one side. It was clearly very old, maybe abandoned, or maybe something worse. She pointed. "You came from that?" The alien didn't respond, but his eyes turned cold. Sad. She could feel the pain in his silence. So she didn't ask again. Instead, she asked something else. "Are we the only ones left?" He looked at her. Then nodded once. A heavy truth settled between them. Mira sat on a rock, staring out at the desert. "So. It's just you and me." The alien sat beside her. For a moment, the wind was all they heard. Then Mira took a deep breath and looked at him. "You saved me twice. You didn't attack me. You shared food, water, and shelter." She paused. "I don't even know your name." The alien touched his chest again, then drew a quick symbol in the dirt with his claw. It was like an X with a circle and a line through it. Mira blinked. "I can't say that." The alien looked at her, then tapped the ground again and pointed to her. She got it. He was asking her to name him. She thought for a second, then smiled a little. "How about Cairo?" The alien tilted his head, then nodded slowly. Kairo. Their uneasy alliance had just turned into something more. Not trust yet. Not friendship yet, but it was a beginning. And both of them felt it. Something strange was happening between them. Not just survival, but connection. The cave wasn't empty anymore. Mira woke to the sound of breathing, but it wasn't her own. It was deep, slow, and coming from somewhere behind her. She sat up quickly, grabbing her blaster. "Cairo?" she whispered. No answer. The alien wasn't in sight, but the breathing continued. Not loud, not fast, just steady, controlled. Mira slowly stood, her boots silent on the stone floor. The glowing crystals on the walls had dimmed during the night, casting long shadows across the cave. She turned the corner and froze. Cairo was sitting cross-legged in front of a glowing rock wall. But it wasn't just a wall. It was a mural, strange, symbols and shapes, pulsed gently with light moving like liquid under glass. They weren't just drawings, they were alive, telling a story, and Cairo was watching them, studying them, whispering to them. Mira stepped closer. The light from the wall reflected in his silver eyes. He didn't look at her, but he knew she was there. "These memories?" she asked softly. He placed his hand on one of the symbols. The shape changed, melted into a new image. Mira saw an alien world. Tall towers, flying creatures, rivers of light, then war, fire, ships exploding, then darkness. Kio lowered his hand. Silence. Mira's heart sank. "That's your home, isn't it?" He nodded slowly. She felt a sudden weight in her chest. They were truly alone now. Both of them had lost everything. She sat beside him, close but not touching. He pointed to a new symbol. It showed two figures, one like him, the other human. Then it showed the human surrounded by light, and something glowing inside her. Mira's face went pale. "Wait, that's me?" Cairo didn't speak, but he didn't deny it either. Mira backed away a little. "What is this? Why am I in your history?" No answer. She stood up, her voice shaking. "Are you doing something to me?" Cairo looked at her, calm, but there was something deep in his eyes. Not danger. Regret. She turned away. Her heart was beating fast. This was too much. She needed air. She ran outside the cave, into the hot sunlight. The wind blew across the red sand. Her head spun with questions. What was that mural? Why did it show her? And why did she feel so strange lately, warm at night, dizzy during the day, heart racing whenever Cairo looked at her? Behind her she heard soft footsteps. He had followed, but he didn't come close. He just stood a few steps behind her. Silent. Mira didn't turn around. She just whispered, "Am I changing?" Still no answer, but in her heart she already knew. This planet was strange. Cairo was strange. And something inside her was no longer fully human. The ground was bleeding. That was the first thing Mira thought when she saw it, thick, dark red liquid bubbling up from a crack in the earth. It looked like blood, but the scanner on her wrist said it was water. Just not the kind humans knew. She knelt beside it and dipped her fingers into the thick pool. It was warm, sticky, and pulsing like it had a heartbeat. Behind her, Cairo stood completely still, his silver eyes watching her closely. Mira looked back at him. "This is safe to drink?" He didn't nod. He didn't shake his head either. Instead, he crouched down beside her and opened his palm. A small crystal, glowing blue, floated just above his hand. He dropped it into the red pool. The water hissed, then turned clear. Mira's eyes widened. "You purified it?" Cairo dipped his fingers into the pool, then raised them to her lips. She hesitated. It wasn't just the water that made her heart race. It was the closeness, the gentleness, the way he waited for her to trust him. She opened her mouth and let the drops touch her tongue. Cool, clean, sweet. She drank. For the first time since crashing on this strange planet, she felt her strength returning, but it didn't last. The ground shook. Mira jumped up, blaster in hand, What now? Cairo turned sharply, eyes scanning the horizon. He growled a low sound Mira had never heard from him before. Then she saw it, a massive creature crawling across the rocks. Its skin was like black glass. Its arms were long and sharp like swords. It sniffed the air. It had caught their scent. Myra whispered, "We need to move." Cairo didn't answer. He stepped forward, body tense, claws out, ready to fight. "No." She grabbed his arm. "We can't fight that," the beast shrieked. Its jaw opened sideways, dripping with slime. Then it charged. Cairo grabbed Myra's hand and ran. They bolted through the red dunes, wind slamming into their faces. The creature crashed behind them, each step shaking the ground. Cairo led Mira into a canyon, diving through a narrow split in the rocks just seconds before the beast could grab them. They hit the ground hard, covered in dust. Silence. The creatures' roars faded into the distance. Mira lay there, chest rising fast, heart thundering. Cairo was beside her, his hand still holding hers. They looked at each other. She realized then, he hadn't let go. And neither had she. After a moment, Mira sat up, still breathing hard. "You could have left me behind." Cairo tilted his head, then placed his hand on her chest. Over her heart. She didn't understand his language, but this time, she didn't need to. He was saying, "I wouldn't leave you, ever." She felt her throat tighten. Out here, on a broken planet, with death chasing them, and nothing certain. This alien was becoming the only thing that felt real, and something inside her body stirred. Again, stronger this time. Not pain, but life. Rain fell upward, not down but upward. Like time was broken. Tiny glowing drops floated from the ground into the sky, lighting the dark canyon with soft blue light. Mira stood still, watching in wonder. She had never seen anything like this before. Beside her, Cairo was silent. His silver eyes reflected the rising droplets. "What is this place?" Mira asked softly. He raised his hand toward the floating lights, letting them pass through his fingers. They danced around him, almost like they knew him. Mira stepped closer. One of the glowing drops touched her skin, and it didn't feel like water. It felt warm. Alive. Suddenly, she gasped and placed a hand over her belly. A strange heat spread through her body. Not pain, but something growing, expanding, moving inside her. "Cairo," she said, her voice shaking, "something is wrong with me." He turned quickly, his expression serious now. She fell to her knees, breathing fast. The warmth in her stomach turned into a pulse, slow and strong, like a second heartbeat. She looked up at him, eyes wide. "What did you do to me?" Cairo didn't speak. Instead, he knelt beside her, touched her wrist, and then touched her chest. He was trying to say something, to explain. Then he reached into a pouch on his side and pulled out a small glowing shard like the one he used to clean the red water. But this one was brighter. He gently placed it on her stomach. The shard floated, then sank into her skin. Mira gasped, but there was no pain, only calm. Warmth. The heartbeat inside her grew stronger. She touched her stomach and whispered, "Is it alive?" Cairo looked into her eyes and nodded once. She sat frozen. Her voice trembled. I'm pregnant?" He didn't answer with words, but his hand rested over hers, gently. And in that moment, she understood. This wasn't by force. This wasn't a mistake. Something ancient, something powerful on this planet had bonded them, joined them, and now a life was growing. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed above them. Rocks fell from the canyon wall. A screech broke the silence. Something was coming. Cairo jumped to his feet, shielding her with his body. The glow from the shard faded, but Mira still felt it inside her. He held out a clawed hand, signaling for her to stay down. Then, from the cliff above, two dark shapes leapt down. Hunters. Same species as the first one that chased them, but smaller. Faster. Cairo roared, louder than she had ever heard before. and charged. Mira watched in horror as claws clashed with claws, and energy pulsed between their bodies. Cairo moved like lightning strong, focused, protecting her with everything he had. One creature fell, screeching. The second lunged for Mira. She raised her blaster and fired. The shot hit. Smoke rose from its chest. It twitched and dropped. Silence. Again. Kairo returned to her side, panting. His arm was cut and glowing blood dripped from it. Mira rushed to him. "You're hurt." He waved her off but stumbled slightly. She pulled out a med patch and gently pressed it to his wound. "I'm not letting you die after everything," she said firmly. Kairo looked at her. In his eyes, she saw something more than pain. She saw awe. And care. Not just for her, but for what was now growing inside her. Mira woke up crying, but she didn't know why. Tears rolled down her cheeks before her eyes even opened. Her body was warm. Her mind was quiet. The sky above was deep purple, filled with slow-moving stars. Kairo sat beside her, watching. He hadn't slept. He never seemed to sleep. Was I dreaming? Mira asked in a shaky voice. Cairo didn't answer. Instead, he pointed to something glowing on the cave wall across from them. A new mural had appeared overnight, drawn in light. Mira sat up slowly. Her heart skipped a beat. It was her. Figure with long hair and soft eyes, standing in the center of a glowing circle. Inside her belly light. Around her darkness. And beside her, Kairo. Mira whispered, "This wasn't here before." Cairo nodded once. He walked toward the wall and placed his hand over the drawing. The glow around Mira's figure pulsed once like it was alive. Then the light began to move. The mural changed again, shifting and flowing like water. Mira gasped as the cave walls revealed more. A vision from long ago. She saw Cairo's world. Before the fall, a place of peace and stars. A prophecy one Mira couldn't read, but felt in her soul. An outsider would come. Not to conquer, but to carry. A child of two worlds. Mira's hand slowly touched her own belly. It was never an accident, she whispered. This was meant to happen. Cairo stepped closer, placing his palm gently over hers. No words, no pressure. Just truth. Her heart raced. Not in fear now. In wonder. Suddenly, the crystals on the ceiling flickered, then dimmed. A strange cold wind blew through the cave. Mira looked around. Something's wrong. Cairo's eyes darkened. He moved toward the entrance. Outside, the air shimmered. Lightning cracked across the sky, but it wasn't natural. Mira followed him out and froze. Spaceship was descending in the distance, but it wasn't human. It was a hunting ship, the same kind that had destroyed Cairo's people. And it had found them. She turned to him. Or for the baby. Cairo didn't blink. He stepped in front of her. As if he already knew this moment would come. Mira grabbed his arm. We can't fight them alone. Cairo stared at the sky, then slowly reached into the stone beside the mural. With a sharp twist, he pulled out a hidden item. A small orb glowing bright gold. What is that? Mira asked, heart pounding. He placed the orb into her hands. The moment she touched it, a pulse ran through her body. Her veins lit up with golden light. Her mind filled with 100 voices, not human, not alien. Something ancient. She dropped the orb, gasping. And finally, she understood. The child inside her was not just alive. It was powerful. And they were all coming for it. The sky was on fire. Flames streaked across the clouds as 3 warships broke through the atmosphere, engines roaring like angry gods. Mira stood at the edge of the canyon, wind whipping her hair, heart beating like a war drum. They found us, she whispered. Behind her, Cairo stepped forward. He wasn't afraid, but his jaw was tight. His silver eyes watched the falling ships, glowing brighter with every second. He knew them. They're from your past, aren't they? Mira asked. He gave a small nod. Enemies. Mira single quotes as hand went to her belly. The baby, their baby, moved again. Not a kick. A pulse, stronger now, like it was waking up. Suddenly, a fourth ship appeared through the clouds. Different shape, different colors. Mira's eyes widened. That's human. The ship hovered, scanning the land, sending out pulses of blue light. She grabbed Cairo's arm. My people. They might save us, but Cairo didn't move. He looked at her. Long and silent, and she finally understood. If the humans found her pregnant with something alien inside, they might not save her. They might take the child. They might kill him. Her voice trembled. What do I do? No answer, only the rising tension in the air. The alien warships were landing. Fast, dust and ash filled the sky. One ship fired a warning shot into the canyon. The ground shook. Rocks collapsed. Time was running out. The human ship was sending a rescue pod. It was heading straight for her. Myra looked at Cairo. If I go with them, I might live. If I stay, I might die. Cairo didn't beg. He didn't plead. He just stepped back and lowered his head. He was letting her choose. Tears filled her eyes. I don't want to lose you. A soft hum came from him, not a word, but it meant everything. She turned toward the rescue pod. It was landing just a few meters away. The door opened. Her name was called through the speaker. Captain Mira Gray. We found you. Come now. She took a step forward. Then stopped. The baby inside her kicked again. Hard. Mira gasped. And suddenly, she saw the future, not in images, but in feeling. If she left Cairo, if she gave up the child, something beautiful would be lost forever. She turned around. Ran. Straight to Cairo. The humans shouted after her, confused. The alien warships prepared to fire. Lights turned red. Warnings screamed, but Myra didn't care. She reached Cairo and grabbed his hand. We go together, she said. Or not at all. Cairo stared at her, surprised. Then he smiled, a real smile. He pulled her close, and the orb, the one hidden inside her, lit up. A wave of gold light exploded from her body, blasting into the sky. The warships stopped. Rescue ship froze mid. Everything went still. Then one by one, the ships turned and left. As if something had warned them, something greater than war, something growing inside her. Mira and Cairo stood alone again. But this time, it wasn't fear that filled the silence. It was peace. And hope. Their child would be born on this wild, strange planet. A child of two worlds, and maybe a beginning for a new one.